this late at night. If you are listeners to the show, fans of the show, I would like to encourage you to stick around if you can. It's very nice to hear, and I'd like to encourage you to stick around after, if you can, and if you want to say hello, that would be very nice. It's always good to hear from you, and maybe I'll ask you a couple questions about things you like and you don't like about the show. Also taking soundings on the municipal election these days. So if you're not familiar with the show, we'd love it if you check it out. It's meant to be a reference point on our city, Montreal, 5:30 to 8:30, and it gives you a briefing of things going on in the world, and back in Canada on politics, try to have a little set to with the politicians when we can. On both sides, see two of your favorite groups of people, the media and the politicians, and we like to give them a hard time, and they like to give us a hard time too. So please tune in, give us a chance, and see what's going on in the morning on CBC. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered tonight on land that has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous people, including the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe nations. We honor and we respect those nations as the traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we meet today. I hope you're all coping with the heat. I know I had a suit contraption set out for tonight, and I said forget it about 45 minutes ago. You're lucky I'm not in flip-flops and swimming trunks. It's been a pretty awful day in the world. A terrible earthquake in Mexico. The more we learn, the more awful it seems to have been. We had the latest hurricane, Maria, which seems to have been awful as well, devastating. I woke up this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and heard Aung San Suu Kyi pretending as though she had no idea why 400,000 Rohingya refugees would have left Burma, Myanmar to Bangladesh, something which I find quite crushing, that someone that many of us used to hold as a hero has turned out to be not that. And I think to cap it all off, it was Donald Trump at the United Nations. So. But Payam is here to assure us that it can actually be worse. But to be fair, he's also, I think, got a message of hope. And one of the most hopeful things is to see so many of you here tonight to hear this lecture that is about the future, basically the future of humanity and human rights and respect around the world. It's something that I know means a lot to Payam, and he's been speaking to huge filled auditoriums, even in White House in the last week. So it's very good. Thank you very much for coming out. This is a Canadian broadcast institution. CBC Radio has been broadcasting the CBC Massey Lectures, bringing Canadians some of the greatest minds of our times, exploring ideas that make us who we are and asking the questions that make us better human beings since 1961, which is even older than me. The lectures are co-sponsored by Massey College and the University of Toronto and the House of Anansi Press, and they're the publishers of the book of the lectures, and a week in on sale, and that book is on the Globe and Mail bestseller list already. Tonight is the third of 5 lectures, and last week, as I mentioned, they were in Whitehorse and Vancouver. After tonight, it's off to St. John's, and the last lecture is in Toronto in the first week of October. The lectures are being recorded, and the series will be broadcast on Ideas on CBC Radio 1 at 9 p.m., and that's the week of November the 6th, and they'll, of course, be available online and on demand. Just search for Ideas in CBC. You probably have seen a camera around here somewhere. It might be right there. There's a documentary being filmed about Payam, so don't be alarmed by that. After tonight's lecture, in about an hour's time, we're going to have a question and answer period, and that'll be about 20 minutes. There'll be mics in the audience. I think that's where they're located. I'll warn you now, I'm going to be fairly strict in that we want you to ask a question, but we want you to ask a question. Not speech body. He speech body. There is, of course, the book, which is available in bookstores, and it's on sale in the lobby, In Search of a Better World, published by House of Nancy Press. And after the lecture, Payam will be in the lobby signing books. Now, housework out of the way. Did I mention cell phones? Cell phones, just turn the ringer off if you would. If you could do that now, or it's because we'd like you to tweet if you want to tweet. You can live blog it if you like. Let's introduce you more formally to our Massey Lecturer, Payam Akhavan, who is a professor of international law at McGill, member of the International Court of Arbitration, and a former United Nations prosecutor at The Hague. He served with the United Nations in conflict zones around the world, frankly some of the worst in modern times: Bosnia, Rwanda, Cambodia, Guatemala, East Timor, and as legal counsel in landmark cases before the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, the European Court of Human Rights, as well as before the Supreme Courts of Canada and the United States. He served as the chair of the Global Conference on Prevention of Genocide, and he's the founder of the Iran Human Rights Documentation Center. And in 2005, he was selected by the World Economic Forum as a young global leader. Payam Akhavan, born in Tehran, migrated to Canada with his family in his childhood. His home is here in Montreal. And I know the question that you really want to know the answer to, which you're probably too embarrassed to ask, but not me, is no, he's no relation to the grocers. It's the first thing I ask. He says every time he travels, it's the first thing I ask him at Air Canada. So. But he, as many of us, are big fans of the grocers. Would you please welcome the 2017 CBC Massey Lecturer, Payam Akhavan.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonsoir. C'est un grand honneur de présenter les conférences CBC Massey de cette année et de le faire à l'occasion du 150e anniversaire de la Confédération canadienne, un moment de réflexion sur notre avenir commun. Je suis très heureux que cette troisième conférence se tienne à Montréal, que je considère chez moi depuis plus d'une décennie. C'est l'université McGill qui m'a amené dans cette ville, et mes chers collègues de la faculté de droit et du Centre pour les droits de la personne ont, eux, une part importante dans le voyage philosophique que je veux partager avec vous ce soir. Je vous remercie, chers collègues, chers étudiants, de votre amitié et de votre soutien. I arrived in this country in my childhood speaking just a few words of English. From the outset, I learned that the CBC was an integral part of being Canadian. I even thought at the time that the theme from Hockey Night in Canada was the national anthem. I would stand and salute the television, full of patriotic sentiment, and it was disabused of my illusion. I was also amazed, I remember watching color television for the first time. Back in Iran, I'd only seen John Wayne in black and white, and I had no idea that other than Persian, he also spoke English. When I first received a phone call from the CBC inviting me to deliver the Massey Lectures, I did what any self-respecting scholar would do. I Googled Massey Lectures, and I came up with a Wikipedia page. Once I looked at the long list of distinguished past speakers, my first thought is, they must have the wrong Payam Akhavan. There must be someone else out there with the exact same name who was worthy of delivering the lectures. So once the reality set in that I must actually write the lectures, I reflected long and hard on how I could say something meaningful, how I could use this incredibly unique platform to say something meaningful. And especially at a time of great turbulence and suffering in the world. I came to the conclusion, as I have over the years, that the problem with the world is not a shortage of brilliant theories or field platitudes. The problem is a shortage of empathy and engagement. What is most needed for building a better world is a deeper motivation, a deeper understanding of why we cannot remain bystanders in the face of injustice. So in attempting to convey the reality of human rights, I've combined detached academic analysis with the intimacy of felt experience, weaving stories with ideas. The first lecture delivered in Whitehorse last week was entitled The Knowledge of Suffering. It focused on how my own childhood experience of persecution and exile as a member of the Iranian Baha'i minority was the beginning of my Human Rights Odyssey. I shared the story of my 16-year-old contemporary, Mona Mahmoudnejad, who was executed by the Iranian government during my high school years, solely because of her religious beliefs. A life-changing event that shattered my world and left me with no choice but to pursue a career in human rights. The second lecture delivered in Vancouver was entitled The Pursuit of Global Justice. It focused on how, following the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s, my quest for redemption unexpectedly placed me at the forefront of the historic UN war crimes trials at The Hague. I examined this long-awaited resumption of the Nuremberg legacy, the establishment of the International Criminal Court, and the realities of punishing genocide at The Hague. In this third lecture, entitled The Will to Intervene, I will explore the prevention of genocide against the backdrop of the events of 1994 in Rwanda. I will explore the disease of hatred, the anatomy of violent scapegoating, the consequences of indifference to injustice, and the responsibility of bystanders to confront radical evil. It is a theme that should be of particular relevance in these times of resurgent